Hello everyone, long time no see. I think that the last time I filmed anything I was still in Canada, so that was a few weeks ago, months ago, and right now I'm in Italy. This is my new studio space. I feel like anytime I'm filming anything I have switched studio space, and today I need to pack a few things and make some letters as well, a few random bits and bobs, and I thought I would film that. And also while I'm packing everything, I wanted to share with you 10 mistakes that you should avoid making once you start selling on Etsy or selling your handmade things, which are all mistakes that I have personally made. Okay, so let's start by making the letters. I think I'll make about 10 because I'm running out of the paper. This is paper that I have found in Italy, but it's really pretty, but it's a lot more expensive to find in Italy. I don't know why, but apparently people aren't really into card making in Italy. And if you are interested, I did film a video on how I make both the letters to send and the envelopes that I use for the jewelry, so I will link that somewhere so you can have a look. But I'm gonna start telling you the mistakes that I've made and that I think are quite common. This is not gonna be in any particular order. This is just the stuff that came to my mind when I was thinking about this. And so the first one is, this one is important, and it is not keeping up with your bookkeeping in a practical and good manner. This has been a real issue for me and I think for most people. When you start your handmade business, you need to be very aware of what are your responsibilities in terms of taxes and keeping track of what you're spending and what you're earning. And especially when you're starting and you're not making a lot of money, then you might let go of that side of the business, which is a huge mistake because you could have big repercussions on your financial life. Even if you don't earn anything, or if you earn very little, at least in the UK where I am registered as self-employed, you need to tell how much you've earned. So even if you earn zero, you need to tell them that you've earned zero. And in the first few years, I didn't keep track of what I was earning, and I wasn't telling them if I was earning anything, which was so silly of me, and I didn't invest time into understanding how it worked. And not only that, so knowing your responsibilities and knowing how you will need to tell them how much you're earning, and you know, all that paperwork needs to be done at the end of the year, but also to keep track of your receipts. And so hold on to your receipts, make pictures of your receipts, because a lot of receipts, they get faded with time and then you can't see what actually they said. And to digitalize them. So what I do, I take a picture of all my receipts, and then I take a, I have a spreadsheet where I list everything, and then I take a picture of the receipts and upload it on my computer, back it up, and also keep my receipts in a safe space, so that if I ever need them, then I know that I can reach back to them. And so keep track of your receipts, keep track of your expenses, keep track of how much you're earning, and write everything down on a spreadsheet. And do that quite often, because, and I mean, it depends on your business, how big is your business, but how many do I have? Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that will do for now. Yeah, depending on how big your business and how much you're earning, how many sales you're having, then you might need to do it more often. I do it every 2 weeks. So yes, that's my mistake number one. And that could be, again, it could be a very awful way to end your business if you haven't been keeping track of your taxes, and then you haven't paid the right amount of taxes, and the taxman comes around and you're like, oh, I didn't know I had to pay, or I had to even tell you how much I'm earned. And then they're like, well, you did, and now here it is, a fine of, I don't know, 10,000 pounds. It happened something similar to me. Maybe that's a story for another video, but I did get them reaching out to me because I hadn't told them that I wasn't making any money, because like for a few years when I started, I kind of let it go. Like, I registered the business and then I didn't do anything for like 3 years. And so I forgot basically to tell them that I wasn't doing anything, and that was a big mistake, and I paid the consequences. The second thing that I think I've already mentioned in my previous video is to not tell people what you're doing. And for me at the beginning, I didn't feel like I was good enough to be able to tell people what I was doing. I was so self-conscious, and I didn't want to be judged on what I was doing because I was still learning. I mean, we're always still learning. But yeah, I wasn't telling anybody. And it's only recently that I started to tell people that I make jewelry. Like, if I give out my business cards, I always have business cards in my wallet. And that doesn't mean to be like, hi, hello, my name is Marina, I make jewelry, this is my shop, here you go, you should have a look, and here a 15% discount. No, like, you don't have to be pushy. But if people seem interested and they ask you what you do, like, what do you do for a living, you can say, oh, I make jewelry, here you can have a look at this, this is my site, I'll leave you a business card. And that has brought me quite a few sales. And also, if they don't buy, they might tell somebody else that you do this kind of thing, and then it's like, you know, word by word, you get people knowing that you have a shop, and maybe they'll bookmark it for when they need a present and things like that. So it's very important to tell people what you do. Okay, since I am making letters and packing material, one lesson that I learned last year especially is that you should pack your stuff well. And by well, I mean to protect it. Because oftentimes the postal service isn't the nicest and kindest and gentlest on your packages, and oftentimes, although you thought you had packaged something well, it arrives broken. And it's so frustrating because, I mean, it depends on which carrier you're shipping stuff. And most carriers, they just wash their hands of, I mean, most national carriers, I'm not talking about like FedEx or DHL, but I use mostly national carriers. And if something breaks, they're like, not my fault. Or like, they make you fill in a form and it takes forever, and it's most of the time it's not even worth it to get the money back if the packet is not insured. Always pack your stuff well. And it's kind of a bummer because in many cases it means that you need to use bubble wrap, which is something I really dislike using. And so for the things that I know are quite resistant and are not gonna easily break, I actually don't put any bubble wrap or anything. I just pack them in the little sleeves, paper sleeves, and then ship them like that. But when there are glass beads or gemstone beads or anything like that, then I either wrap it in tissue paper if it's sturdy enough, not super fragile, but it still needs a little bit more protection, or I do wrap them in bubble wrap, which sucks, but I always hope that the customers will then reuse it. Because if something arrives broken, then you either need to refund everything or ship them the same thing or something else, which takes time. And I mean, it's not great when you're waiting for a package and maybe you waited a few weeks to get it and then it arrives and it's broken. Although it's not the seller's fault, I mean, it kind of is because they didn't pack it well, but it wasn't them that broke it. It still reflects badly on the shop and on the seller. So yes, definitely find a way to package your things that you know is going to resist the travel. And if you can find ways to use less bubble wrap or less plastic, then do let me know in the comments, because I'm always in the lookout. Also, since we're talking about packing, man, this video is gonna be so long. I hope you're watching whilst you're doing something. But I had bought those boxes to ship stuff, and I thought they were the right size to ship. And I bought like 50, and it's totally my fault because I didn't check properly beforehand. But look, they were super nice little boxes, and so it's all cardboard, so then you could just, you know, put it in the recycling of the paper or burn them or put them in the compost, whatever. So this was it, and I thought it was perfect because this way I wouldn't have to put any bubble wrap in it, because it was like, you know, a sturdy box. And then I went to the post office with like 20 packages that I had packaged on those, and the guy was like, they're too thick. And I was like, I thought I had checked and I thought they were the right thickness, but obviously they weren't. They're too thick. So things like this are great and they're not even that expensive. However, most national carriers will count this as a parcel and not as a letter because they're too thick. So it's a lot more expensive. But yeah, if your carriers doesn't charge you more for a thicker box, then those boxes will allow you to have like a more plastic-free kind of packaging. The next mistake that I think most beginners do, and I'm definitely guilty of that, is to underprice your products. And I feel like sometimes I still do that when I'm not too sure about something. I tend to sell it for really cheap. But yeah, when you first start, like really sit down and think about how much work you've put in your item and do check how much similar items are selling and adapt your price to that. Of course, if you don't have a lot of reviews and your shop is really new, you don't have many sales, then you do want to have a competitive price, but you don't want to underprice your items because it makes it look less professional to people. There's something weird happening where when you see something that's cheap, you also think that it's a lower quality, and so you really have to think about a price that is competitive, that will appeal to customers, but that it won't make it feel low quality or cheap or like there's something wrong with your product. So that's very important. And to give you an idea of how I priced my items, is I obviously calculate the material costs, then I calculate how long it takes me to make them. So for example, a necklace like this, it takes me not very long because it's just a beaded necklace and then I have to add the chain and then it's fine. But something like those macrame earrings, they will take me a lot longer because there's, you know, more preparation and more, yeah, it just takes longer. So you will have to take that into consideration. And then to that I add the cost of the listing on Etsy, so the cost of whichever platform you're selling, and I add an extra hour for the taking pictures, editing pictures, uploading pictures and all of that, and then the packing once the item is sold. Okay, so the first thing I need to pack is this load of earrings that are actually a custom order. Another thing that I feel most people do, and it is a huge mistake and I still struggle with it, is not thinking about your work-life balance. And if you own your own business, basically any time of the day you could be, you think that you could and you should be working, especially if it's like, you know, a small business and you really want to make that your living, and you know, nobody else is gonna do the job if you don't do it. So you really want things to work and you think that it's really hard to not work basically because there are so many things that need to be done. And yeah, so I feel like it's really important to find that balance and to tell yourself, those are my working hours. After that, I'm not even gonna check my shop, I'm not gonna check my emails, I'm gonna put my phone on do not disturb, and just to shut off from, just to close your working day and just think of something else. Sometimes I find myself at like 1 o'clock in the morning staring at my beads, just like staring at things, because I want to force myself to like make more, because I need to make more, because I need to have more listings in my shop. And then I just, you could see me just staring at the beads, and this is when I realized that no matter how much I force myself, my creativity juices are just at zero. Like there's no more to pull out of me, so that I need to go to sleep, I need to take a shower, I need to read a book, so that the day after I can have that energy to be creative again. Because you're not gonna be creative if you're tired and stressed and frustrated. So definitely work-life balance, making time to see your friends, making time to make sport, making time for your family, it's very important. Especially as it can be a very isolating kind of job, because it's just you by yourself doing your thing, and a lot of people might not be able to relate to what it is that you do. and might not really understand what your struggles are and why some days you might be stressed because at the post office they drive you mad. That's me. I'm always stressed out anytime that I go to the post office. But yeah, I think it's really important to, especially if you're not nomad like me, and if you are, you know, somewhere for extended period of times, to find a community of people that work from home or makers that can really understand you. I'm just packing one of my sea glass necklaces, and I wanted to share with you something cool about the sea glass jewelry. A few months ago I got contacted by a company called No Issue, which you might have heard of, and they were like, I want to send you something, and they do all things packaging. So they do cards, business cards, stickers, they do customizable tissue paper, which I thought was super cool, but I didn't trust myself with designing it. And what else do they do? Stickers? Oh yes, they do also customizable tape, so you can put like your logo on tape that you use for packages. And I went for cards and for stickers because I thought it would be cool to have something that explains what sea glass is. If it's a present or something like that, then the people can just give a card and like that explains what sea glass is. And so I got some cards. I'll show you now, and I did design all of this myself, so it might not be the most hipster cool design ever, but I'm quite proud of it. There's some shells in the background. The cool thing about No Issue is that they do try to use as much as recycled materials as possible, so all the packaging is recycled, and as I said, it all came in those paper mailers, which I think this is super cool. And so with every order I add now this card, and also I designed some stickers that I add on the back of the envelope to close it, so I'll show you now. So those are the stickers that I add on the envelope, and it just says a little piece of sea, and there's my logo in it. So yeah, if you are looking for some branding materials, especially stickers and cards and the tissue paper, I think it's a super cool idea. So if you're better than me at graphic stuff, then definitely have a look to No Issue. And it was super fast. Like I've used other companies in the past for my business cards, and I usually order them like enough for me for like 6 months, and they usually take like a month, even 2 months to arrive. So if you are in a rush and you're needing some branding stuff, then I do recommend No Issue. It took, I think, like, I don't know, less than a week for it to arrive, so I was quite impressed with that. Okay, what do we need to pack next? Not buying enough quantities of supplies, especially if you travel a lot and you don't always have an address. Finishing something that you really need and finding a way to get it quickly, and hating yourself for not ordering enough of that thing the last time that you ordered it. So definitely, if you know that you go through, for example, extension chains or lobster clasp or whatever it is that you use a lot, then order it in bulk, because there's nothing more annoying than being without something and having to delay an order or cancel it because you don't have enough material. Also, when you are starting out, I see a lot of people that they don't fill in the policies section in the shop, and in the policies you would put things like your refund policy, what happens if something is lost in the post, or if it arrives broken, how long does it usually take for items to arrive, etc, etc. And also the about section, so where you explain who you are and why you do what you do, and is there any history to it and stuff like that. And the about section, I feel, is super important because it makes people get to know you and like see where you're coming from, and it adds a lot of individuality to what it is that you make, and it makes you more special. Like, it makes your shop more special when you share about the maker, I find. And the policies are important because you want people to know how it works in your shop, and you don't want to create false expectations. And you also want to say, if anybody has something to complain about and it was written on the policy, you can say, look, it was written here, and not in a rude way, but you know, it kind of protects you from certain things. So definitely take the time to write the policies and the about section. It's something that I don't think anybody really enjoys, like to write down all of that admin stuff, but once it's done, then it's there. And although you do need to kind of refresh it and like check it every 6 months or a year, it's really important. So you just gotta do it, girl. You gotta do it. Oh boy, you gotta do it. Another mistake that I used to do for the first few years is when a client contacts you and they're unhappy for whichever reason, even if it's a reason that you don't think is reasonable, and that does sometimes happen, don't waste your time trying to make them like understand certain thing, or maybe they hadn't read the listing right and they were expecting something which wasn't actually what you were selling. Or even if it's their fault, basically just refund them. Just refund them the shipping and the cost of the item, and let them go and let them just get out of your space. Because those kind of people, you can try and reason with them and exchange a lot of messages, and they will still leave you a bad review, and that's not worth your time and the stress. So I would say just refund people that are unhappy for whichever reason. Of course, this works only for if you sell things that aren't super expensive, because if you're selling like £2,000 gold rings, then this is not gonna happen. You probably will want a return. And the last thing is, try not to compare yourself too much with other sellers. I think it's great to look around to get inspired by people that are rocking it on Etsy, on selling handmade, and that maybe you admire their branding, you admire the pictures they are taking, whatever. And it's great to kind of get inspired by those people for you to do better. But from there to putting yourself down, it's a very short step. Because I find especially if you're starting and you look around and all the shops are perfectly curated and the descriptions are perfect, the pictures are perfect, everything is great, and it looks like so effortless, you might feel like in the wrong place and that you're not good enough and you're never gonna be good enough. Try to look at other shops as people that have started from the same place where you were. Maybe they had some skills in certain areas, but probably they were lacking in certain areas, and they all learned things that they didn't know beforehand. And I like to remember that everybody was once a beginner. Comparison can be a great tool to push yourself and do better yourself and see the areas where you can better yourself, but it can also be a monster that drags you down in a place where you don't want to do anything. And that was my 9th mistake that I've made in the journey to Etsy success, and that I hope you won't have to do now that you know. And I'm realizing that I still have quite a few packets to pack, but I can't multitask that well, and talking and packing is like taking me super long. So I'm gonna switch off the camera, and thank you for your attention, for sticking with me with my rambling, and I hope you're doing well, and happy crafting. Bye!